into the opening line report. Kelly Stewart here with Teddy Covers on this beautiful Monday morning. I hope you guys enjoyed that extra hour of sleep. I needed it, Teddy, back from a wedding weekend, and I think I should be wearing my glasses to cover up some of these bags underneath my eyes. Yesterday's NFL was good for me. CJ Stroud injury, not so great. Denver Broncos offense was exactly what I said. We're going to get into what did we learn over the weekend. Monday Night Football, you've got a video up right now on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Arizona Cardinals, no Kyler Murray at the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, and of course, as we do, I'm trying to do it almost every week now, make sure that there's a Monday night video up for everyone over at YouTube. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel so you get instant alerts every time these videos go live. We have nearly 250,000 of you. I've already done it. We appreciate the likes. We appreciate the follows. But subscribe makes all the difference. Check out that video right now on YouTube. And it'll be on, I'm not even sure if I posted on my homepage yet. It'll be posted on my homepage in the not too distant future if it isn't there already.
Awesome. We've got maybe a couple emergency betting alerts. I've got my odds logic screen open, ready to look at some of these opening numbers, Teddy. But first, before we get into NFL Week 10, what did we learn in NFL Week number 9?
Well, we had more survivor carnage, Kel, with the Packers and the Lions both losing straight up. The two biggest favorites on the board both went bye-bye. So after a long period of time in which we were losing not much of the field every week, we lost most of the survivor field 2 weeks ago. We lost most of them again yesterday. So if you still have a live survivor ticket somewhere, you're live. Weak underdogs, 8-5 ATS, 8-4 against the spread yesterday. We didn't see the dog cover on Thursday Night Football, but yesterday was a good day for the dogs. 7-6 to the over this past week. And the big news for me is that I suck, which is certainly a very frustrating conclusion to come to. But, I mean, I can't sugarcoat it, Kel. I've had bad weeks. I've had bad runs. I've been in Vegas since 1998. I don't remember a run as bad as this one. You know, it's been since the beginning of October that I haven't done anything right in the NFL. And out of 31 WagerTalk cappers, 30 of them are ranked above me in NFL right now over the last 30 days. So that's a little bit disconcerting and a little bit frustrating for this bettor. And by a little bit, I mean a freaking lot.
Well, let's talk about that, Teddy, right? I was not doing so well myself. Then I got a nice 4-1 week. How do you either take that bad week and figure it out, or how do I take this little bit of momentum that I have and carry it forward?
So it's one thing if it's a bad week, and I talk about it all the time. You know, we're going to have bad weeks. We're going to have weeks where things don't go right. And that's inevitable when you do this. When you start talking about a bad month, I mean, this is my job, all right? My number one job is don't bury your clients. And when you're dead last in the NFL over a month, you buried your clients. And that's me not doing So this past week, I did exactly what you're not supposed to do. You know, I went back and forth. I struggled. I got out of my normal routine. I released late and end up everything that I thought about doing, you know, the things that I should have done and the plays that I probably should have had ended up winning. And the stuff that I thought about it too long and went over in my head too long ended up, you know, I mean, I cashed with Atlanta yesterday, so I did get one win out of the day, but it wasn't a winning weekend. It wasn't a winning day. And so, but when you talk about an extended stretch, you know, not a week, not 2 weeks, this has been a month now where I haven't lived up to the expectations that I expect to be at. So what do you do then? You know, I tried shaking things up last week. That made it worse, not better. So what I do? Yeah, last night I was pissed off and was out, you know, kicking holes in walls and that sort of thing. This morning, I decided that the better thing to do, right? And I went through and did my work. That's what I do, you know, go through all the games, update your power ratings. It's what I have to do. And then, and that's one of the things I love about this show is that it forces me, good or bad, come down to earth, get ready for this show. But when you're struggling for a month, you got to look at some macro issues. And I think that's my bigger issue. Is not the minutia, it's the macro issues. This is the type of bet we look for in September. This is the type of bet we look for in October. This is the type of bet we look for in November now. And I just haven't been paying attention to the macro piece of the equation, I think, enough. and it's getting me on some wrong sides.
All right, let's look at this macro as a whole. NFL Week 10, Teddy. We're going to start off Thursday Night Football. We're going to do a couple emergency betting alerts, and we're going to break down this card in an extensive fashion. I've always got my pen and paper ready because I have learned so much from the show. So like the comment section says, Teddy, don't beat yourself up so much. This has been kind of one of those weird years where last couple weeks it was really chalky. So I went basically all dogs and the one against the square dog last week, and it did not work out well for me. The Raiders are now headed to Denver. That was a game I got to watch yesterday at the airport, headed home on. I kind of wanted to cheer for the tie. I really did, just because I think ties are funny. But I knew Pete Carroll, he's the type of coach, he's going to go for two. And it ultimately cost them the game. Not really, it cost them the tie. What do you take from that game versus the Jags, and how does it carry over into this defensive matchup on Thursday night?
Sure. Well, let's talk about it. The Raiders and the Broncos Thursday Night Football. Vegas off a bye and then a loss in overtime, and now traveling on a short week up to the Mile High Air. The look-ahead line here, there was some variance. There were 10s and 9.5s in the look-ahead line last week. 43 was the total. My powering number has Denver minus 11. The markets open 9.5, 42.5 last night, and that's exactly what we're seeing today, 9.5. 42s mostly out there now. There is a couple of stray 42.5s. If you like the under, find one of them now. There's not enough of them for me to emergency betting alert it because I don't think there's that many out there. But if you see a stray 42.5 and you like the under, bet that sooner rather than later. The market's already at 42 and 41.5s popping up. I mean, the Raiders, it was Geno Smith's best game of the year by far. You know, he threw 4 touchdown passes. But we talk about complimentary football. Good teams, when they get the best game of the year out of their offense, their defense can get a stop. As for the Raiders, the defense got gashed for 26 first downs and 30 points. And that included a goal, first and goal from the one possession where they got an interception against Trevor Lawrence. So it was, the offense stepped up, the defense got gashed, the opposite of complimentary football. And, of course, the way to lose, the difference in the game, let's not forget the game went to OT because they missed an extra point. And because the Jags kicked a 68-yard field goal, the longest in NFL history. Pete Carroll, quote, "I feel for these guys in the locker room. Man, it pisses me off. The all-time longest field goal in the history of the game, and we missed an extra point." The Raiders put a lot into that game. The wise guys were all over them yesterday, took a lot of money before kickoff, and played as well as they could play, at least on one side of the football. Not going to be easy on the short week going to Denver facing the Broncos defense. But it's not like the Broncos are finding ways to win by margin right now either. Denver had another how the F did they do it type of win yesterday. They got played the whole game. The defense made red zone stops, and Bo Nix did just enough in that fourth quarter. 6-game winning streak for the Broncos right now. 4 of them have come by 4 points or fewer. How about this for in-game betting? Denver. Games where they trailed going into the fourth quarter, 4-0 straight up this season. And you want to talk about a defensive struggle, 4.4 yards per play on offense was good enough. They gave up 3.7 on defense. They were -2 in turnovers. The defense didn't force any. They're on the road, and they still won the game in a game where Bo Nix didn't complete half his passes. Nix's quote, "It proves we can win tough games. It proves that our mentality can adjust to where we're expecting where we expect to find ways to win. It's a really good issue to have when you're finding these ugly wins." Denver's winning ugly. Raiders just losing. That being said, 9.5, I'm not seeing any indication this number is going to go up, certainly not through the roof. It's a Broncos team, again, that's been winning by single. Last year was all blowouts, and they couldn't win the close games. 1-5 in games decided by a TD or less. This year, it's been a little bit of the opposite for Denver, which I think will tap the brakes on some of the enthusiasm for the Broncos at this big minus price.
I would agree. Let's touch on the enthusiasm for the Broncos really quickly, Teddy, because I kind of want to know what your thoughts are. We talked about last year when you were on Bet On It with me. We did a segment called Stock Watch. We're buying on a team. We're, selling on a team. Are the Broncos still a buy team? Should we be looking at this team to go deep into the playoffs, maybe a Super Bowl run?
I don't see the Broncos as a Super Bowl, the legit Super Bowl contender, but I do see Denver as a team that could win a playoff game. You know, they could be in the Final Four. And if you win one, you can win two. They have a championship caliber defense. They have an offense that's doing enough on a week in, week out basis. And they have a quarterback who's been clutch. I mean, you know, Bo Nix has not been great, but he's been clutch, and we'll take that. Certainly Sean Payton will. So Denver has that. I have the Broncos power rated above the Chargers.
Okay. So do you think they have an opportunity to win the AFC West? Sure.
I mean, KC's got 3 losses now. Denver's in first. Aren't they in first place?
Are they in first place this morning? Wow. Okay.
So it's so funny. You and I almost never look at the standings. You know, I try to look every week or two just so I can remember, because all I think about is point spread success and all of that.
Yes.
But
the standings don't matter. We know it's just like the AP top 25 for college football. The standings don't, that number doesn't matter. The power rating number matters. But Teddy, I'm going to keep the show moving along while you're looking at that. I want to go to Berlin. We're back in the international series. The Atlanta Falcons, the game landed 1 yesterday, so I thought that was funny as well. I was on the Falcons with you. We'll take that cover. Speaking of not covering and not winning, the Indianapolis Colts, they were a buy-on team there for a while. They ended up faltering yesterday at the Steelers.
Yeah, let's emergency betting this one. Let's emergency betting this one right away. The money come one way, and now we're seeing it come back the other way. So you have an opportunity, I think, right now to take advantage of a number that's not going to be there in an hour or two. Look at line here was Colts -7, total of 48. My powering number, Colts -5. The markets opened 6.5 last night, and it got bet down. There were 5s and 5.5s out there this morning. Now I'm seeing the 6s. The 5s just got taken out. The 5.5s are getting taken out. I'm seeing the 6s popping up right now. So if you like Indy, 5.5 likely to be the best of the number you're going to see. You can still get that. That's widely available as we speak. So in Berlin, which is a long, I mean, Berlin's a long way from London, man. That's an extra 2 or 3 hours on your flight across the pond. That being said, we're seeing Falcons money. We saw the Falcons money. Now we're seeing Colts money in the bounce back spot. And I mean, Atlanta got the cover for me yesterday. Basically, Drake London got it single-handedly. Drake London was unreal. In the final touch on the Falcons' last touchdown drive, he had 3 or 4 I think 3 catches with one hand, including the touchdown catch, which was as unbelievable as it gets. And he had 3 TD catches on the day. That was essentially all Atlanta did offensively. I can't understand the Falcons' game plan right now offensively. It's incomprehensible to me. When you have Bijan Robinson and you're feeding him 12 times in a game with your young QB coming off injury on the road, 12 for 46 to me is inexplicable for Bijan Robinson. And in theory, and he's a team you're supposed to be able to run against. We'll see if that plays out. And of course, after the game, the coaching staff was talking about how New England cheated. You know, they called out our signal. And of course, in the last drive, with clock mismanagement from Raheem Morris and company, with the decision to punt the ball away at the 2-minute warning, so you get the 2-minute warning to stop the clock. I'm not looking at Atlanta and thinking that's a well-coached team right now. As for Indy, I mean, they turned the ball over yesterday. You know, Quentin Nelson, quote, "Losing makes you better in the long run as long as you effing learn from it." And that's what we're going to do. We come to work for each other and grind for each other. Love the guys in this team. Love our coaches. We'll be back next week. Danny Dimes, turn it over as many times as we did. 6. We're going to have a tough time winning. And of course, you know, the offensive line had the worst game they've had all season. The defensive line didn't play well. DeForest Buckner, we're not all going to have a perfect game. I don't have a perfect game all the time. It's the NFL. This game doesn't define him as a quarterback. Jonathan Taylor, his worst game of the season, 14 carries on 45 yards. Quote, "We got to give Jones time. The offensive line, running backs, we got to be in the right spots as far as routes being on our areas. It's the entire offense, the cumulative thing. We have to be better with the football." And the Colts won the box score, 368 yards to 225. But when you turn the ball over 6 times, it doesn't matter. I think, like I said, we saw the first money come for Atlanta. I think that was a head fake. The real money's coming for Indy now. If you like the Colts, bet them sooner rather than later.
On probably the worst NFL game on the season, but both teams are off a bye, and someone's got to get a win here, Teddy. Cleveland Browns at the New York Jets.
Yeah, look ahead line here. Jets -1.5, -2. We're out there. Total 38.5. My number has the game at Pick'em. I guess I'm giving the Browns defense some respect to have my Cleveland power. I mean, the numbers at the games in New York and my numbers Pick'em. That tells me I got Cleveland as a power is the better of these two teams, which I do. That's all about their defense. Markets opened 237.5 last night. They're still sitting at 237.5 this morning. 37s are out there. 36.5s are out there. If you like the under, find a 37.5, bet it right now. Otherwise, this game's not likely to move other than based on injury statuses throughout the course of the week. The Browns off the loss to the Patriots in the bye. The Jets off the win versus the Bengals and the bye. So both teams resting and ready, but one of the two teams went into the bye satisfied. The underdog in this game went into the bye really pissed off. They did not play well in the second half at New England, a game that they played well enough in the first half to be competitive and then let it all get away from them relatively quickly.
All right, Teddy. Next up on the odds logic screen, we've got New Orleans at Carolina. Carolina off that insane double-digit underdog win at Green Bay. Would you say that was more of a testament to the Panthers having Bryce Young back, or more of Green Bay playing down to their level of competition?
I remember that. So earlier this year, I think they were laying 14 to Tennessee. And I'm like, this is a mismatch. The Packers are going to kill this team. And that mentality wasn't there for Green Bay in that game. And it really wasn't. And they got the win. They found a way to, I think they won the game. But at no point was it pretty. At no point was it easy. And yesterday's game was kind of the same for Green Bay. So I'm going to put it more on the Packers bad than Panthers good. That being said, the Panthers have a winning record right now, in November, which is something we haven't been able to say in a couple of years. Look at line here. Carolina 3.5. Total was in the 40. I can't read my writing. 42. I got a 42/40s. There was a wide variance on the total for the look ahead here for New Orleans and Carolina. Powering number for me had the Panthers 5.5. Last night, the markets, there were 4.5. There were 5s. There were 5.5s out there and 40.5s out there. And there are still a couple of 4.5s and 5s out there. Enough 4.5s and 5s to say emergency betting alert time. If you like the Panthers, I would do it sooner rather than later. There's not going to be market support right now for the New Orleans Saints. And Carolina is above 500, a playoff contender in November. They're healthy at the QB position. And I expect this line, again, at 5. The 4.5s and 5s aren't going to be there. It'll be 5.5 or higher, at least in this bettor's opinion. And we talk about incomprehensible game plans. The Saints have a rookie quarterback in Tyler Shuck making his first career road start. And what do? 13 rushes to the running backs. That's it. 13 handoffs. It doesn't make sense. They got out first down 30-10. They had almost only 16 and change in time of possession. Second 4-game losing streak of the season for the Saints. This team's as bad as any in the NFL. Kellen Moore, embattled first-year head coach. Quote, "We didn't give ourselves a chance in this one. They really controlled the game in so many ways. We didn't get enough shots at it." So here they have a bounce-back opportunity against a division foe who may be a little fat and happy after beating Green Bay. But, Bryce Young being back, Bryce Young, had 11 completions for 102 yards. It wasn't like the passing game worked. It was all Rico, They got outgained by a full yards per play, and a lot of it had red zone. The red zone defense was good, and the Packers made mistakes in the red zone. Green Bay only had 1 touchdown in 5 red zone tries. Confidence inspiring for the Panthers. Now, twice this season, they have a rookie kicker, Ryan Fitzgerald, has nailed the game winner like he did yesterday from distance. So we'll give Carolina credit, but that had a lot to do with Green Bay stinking. And again, the Panthers, when we look at what they've actually done in their statistical profile and their record, there's something about a dichotomy there. The markets are not going to give Carolina, of all teams with a winning record, Carolina's power rated lowest in my numbers by a fairly wide margin. So even though they're decent, no one's saying Carolina's good yet. And they weren't good yesterday. Green Bay was just worse.
All right, are they good enough to win the game, Teddy? You know where I'm going here. I'm looking at Carolina in Survivor. Am I getting a little too high on the Panthers, especially in a divisional matchup?
I think they're a reasonable choice.
Okay.
New Orleans right now is a team that's worth looking to fade in Survivor.
I did it yesterday with the Rams. I mean, you can just keep betting against some of these bad teams. Eventually, they're going to win. Remember, I had the Bengals in another entry versus the Jets. So that's where you get a little kind of thinking, all right, eventually the Saints are going to win a game. Because again, the organization may be tanking, but the players are not tanking.
No, and when you have a team, let's say that we're going to talk about Washington a little bit later. When you have a team that's built to win now, and they bring in a bunch of veterans, a bunch of older guys, and then you start the season seeing 3-6, sometimes you see some tank in those teams. When you have a team with a younger head coach, you have a team that's still building, you have a team that hasn't been to the playoffs, there's not tanking, The Saints aren't tanking, I mean, there's effort there. There's effort there every week, or most weeks at least, for New Orleans. They're just not very good.
Okay, let's move right along here. Another divisional matchup. We have Buffalo off that nice win over Kansas City, headed to Miami. Teddy, how do you like to look at things situationally when teams are off a win versus, we'll call them their playoff arch nemesis?
Yeah, the Bills played pretty well yesterday. They played as well as they could play. Look at line, Buffalo 9-50. My powering number, Buffalo 10. The market's open 9.5 and 49.5, and that's pretty much what we're seeing right now. There are some 50s out there. There's even a 50.5 for this total, but the prevailing number 9.5, 49.5. Looking at my odds logic live odds screen, and of course there are two teams coming off very disparate performances. The Bills. I mean, Josh Allen threw only 3 incompletes yesterday. 0 turnovers, 3 touchdowns, and 3 red zone tries, 4 penalties. Josh Allen throws 3 completes. James Cook throws runs for 114. You're going to win the games like that, and of course the key goal line stand before halftime. Josh Allen after the game, they're the pinnacle of what you want your franchise to be. They've been that for the last 8 years. Anytime you get a chance to play the best, you can come away with a victory, you're going to be feeling pretty good. Let's not forget the Bills' previous 5 wins came against teams with a combined record of 11-30. Sean McDermott, we're not where we need to be, but I saw the team come together. When it got tough, they stood tall. Worth noting, defensive injuries, a bunch of them. Daquan Jones, Ed Oliver, Teron Johnson, all out. Somebody else got hurt yesterday, and I can't find where his number is. But anyhow, what his name is, I should say. There were about 3 other defensive starters. Nonetheless, check the defensive injuries for Buffalo. That is definitely a concern here. The letdown effect could very well be a concern here as well. For Miami, they had the awful showing on Thursday night. They fired the GM, but they said, McDonald, you got to stay here. We're going to sentence you to stay here for the rest of the year until we fire you. That's your penalty. And again, the difference in the game between Miami and Baltimore. Miami -3 in turnovers. Red zone, Miami 0-3 in the red zone. Baltimore went 3-3. That's 28-6. There's 3 turnovers, 3 bad red zones for Miami, 3 good red zones for Baltimore. McDaniel, quote, you want to dictate the terms, you want to fix stuff. That sucks. All of that does. There's a pretty consistent formula of fans enjoy winning. Our expectation that we have to do that work and do the right things for the fans to enjoy the experience. Unfortunately, we didn't do that tonight. So we got to give them something to cheer about. The Dolphins won the first half by more than 100 yards, and they trailed 14-6. They made a bunch of mistakes. Key injuries in the ball game. They lose Ollie Gordon, Chop Robinson, Rasul Douglas got hurt. It's a 2-7 team right now for Miami, which means the games we expect this losing team to step up for are going to be the divisional games. This is not a bet-on spot for Buffalo. Can you hold your nose and take the Dolphins?
Oof. I don't know if I can, Teddy. I don't know if I can. I am really good at doing the hold your nose thing. I don't know if I trust this team whatsoever, but I can rest assure you I will not be laying it here with the Bills. CJ Stroud, Teddy, I was looking around. He's in concussion protocol, obviously, after yesterday, and the market's on the move. Too early to know whether he will play on Sunday or not versus Jacksonville.
Yeah, look at line here. Houston 3, 41.5. My Davis Mills powering number has the Texans -1.5. The markets have the Texans -1. Total 39.5. Again, look at it was 41.5. Currently, we're looking at 39.5 last night. and now we're looking at 38s with even 37.5s popping up. So we've seen a lot of under money already. We've seen the market adjust with the expectation, I think, that Mills is going to play in this ball game for Houston. When we talk about Davis Mills on the backup quarterback pantheon, he's top quartile. He's maybe even higher than that. That being said, he wasn't good yesterday. 17 of 30 for 137 yards, but just 7 of 16 for 53 yards after halftime. D'Amico Ryans. It's easy to stand up here and make excuses. Injuries happen across the league all the time. You don't make excuses about who's in the game or who's not. We had the opportunity to close out the game and win it. Again, fourth quarter, game on the line, tie game. 4 drives for the Texans. They totaled 33 yards and punted 4 times. 3.7 yards per play, full game. More Ryans. Every offense is going to miss their starting quarterback. We want our starting quarterback in the game at any given time. That's why he's a starting quarterback, but it's no excuses. A lot of teams have won game with backup QBs before. We had our opportunity. We had our chance. It just wasn't good enough. So, that's a bad loss for Houston, a big loss. Instead of getting back to 500, now they're sitting at 3-5, playing with a backup QB. In terms of a mentality changer for a team that's won the division each of the last 2 years. Now, I worry about Houston this week. I really do. That being said, I don't know who the Jags are going to have healthy in order to catch the football. Brian Thomas had an ankle injury. Travis Hunter's now on IR. They lost Trayvon Walker, got ejected in the game for throwing a punch. I don't know if he's going to face a suspension. They won because Cam Little hit the longest field goal in NFL history, and the Raiders missed an extra point. That being said, Trevor Lawrence was announced on the injury report on Sunday as suffering from an undisclosed illness, and he played like it. Liam Cohen. He was pale as a ghost throughout the whole game. If you watch Lawrence in the first quarter, he threw one of the worst picks you'll ever see in a first and goal from the 1 situation for the Jaguars. They found a way to win it, and Jacksonville's been, feisty. I don't know what I'm going to do with this one. I don't know where the money's going to come. The money's going to move based on what we see from Houston's injury report. Stroud, while Mills is a backup quarterback the markets respect, Stroud is the starter for a reason. It'll adjust a point or two if we do see Stroud this week towards Houston.
All right, Teddy, we talked about the NFL season and how it's gone so far to start the show. Let's talk about college basketball real quick because it starts today. NBA's already been underway. How college football as well. Let's kind of see where things are going right in Teddy's world.
So I don't even look at college basketball until after Thanksgiving.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, never. It's been something that I've done for probably 15 years. I find I can the max that I can work is 3 sports at any one time. When I start working a 4th sport, it messes me up. And I just I can't focus. And college basketball is a sport where you need to be paying attention to a lot of little things. So I don't look at it till after Thanksgiving when college football quiets down, and then I can get into college hoops. NBA continues to be good, very good. 9-4 with the last 13 since 2022. I'm up 230 something units of profit in the NBA. It's been bouncing between 56 and 57% long term. And then again, when you talk about hitting 57% in a sport long term, I'm approaching 800 games now in this sample size. I'm proud of that. And I expect to win in the NBA every year. I expect to win in the NBA every freaking day. So for what it's worth, that's going good. And college football has been, I don't know if it's been as bad as the NFL, but it hasn't been good. This past weekend wasn't good. Frustrating for me. It's another sport where I feel like it's half bad. Like I feel like I've left too much on the table that I should have had and bet too much that I shouldn't have had. It's like the decision-making process hasn't been right in college football this year, and it's cost me and my clients a bunch.
Okay, well, we're going to right the ship this week in the NFL, Teddy. And I think this is a really interesting game. Both teams off nice wins. Ravens were on Thursday Night Football. Minnesota just beats divisional rival on the road with J.J. McCarthy. Now, Baltimore is a road favorite here.
Yeah, the Ravens continue to be power rated by the betting markets as, if not the best team in the league, tied. Hasn't changed. Was last week. Here they are again this week. Baltimore -3.5 at Minnesota was a look headline, 46.5 the total. My part number, I have Baltimore. Well, let me just double check this so I can be very specific. I have Baltimore a half point behind Philly, a point behind Kansas City, a half point behind Buffalo and Detroit. So I have them top 5. I don't have them number 1. And my primary number comes Baltimore 2.5 in this game. So that tells you where the markets are. It's not like I have Minnesota off market, but I've been a little bit under on Baltimore. Markets open 3.5, 47 last night. And today we're looking at 3.5s, 48/48.5s even popping up. And I thought about emergency betting alert this total. I think it's already moved. I don't think it's going to get. I'm not seeing the movement we've seen up to 48 is telling me I'm not seeing any indication it's going higher than that. And it's not like the Vikings are necessarily an over team. J.J. McCarthy yesterday, 14 for 25, 143. Threw a pick. He was sacked 5 times. Those are not the numbers you expect to beat the Lions in Detroit. How'd they win the game? The run defense was amazing. They held the Lions to 20 and 65 on the ground, 20 carries, 65 yards. They gained 142 on the ground. They only gained 4.4 yards per play, allowed 4.9. But, when all was said and done, McCarthy threw for 2 touchdowns, ran for a 3rd, and the coaching staff trusted him enough that when they were trying to run out the clock, he threw a dime on basically the last offensive play of the game on 3rd and 5 from their own 28. Kevin O'Connell, JJ made one of the best throws of the day. We absolutely needed it. TJ Hockenson, he controls the huddle like a vet. He makes plays when he needs to. It's fun to play with number 9. The Colts were there for Minnesota from that locker room, certainly positive. And the fact that they were able to get their season back on track with a road win against a divisional foe as more than a TD dog speaks to this coaching staff and the potential that Minnesota has, even though their season so far has not lived up to expectations. As for the Ravens, Lamar Jackson's back and they won the game by 22. Jackson had 5 incomplete passes, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Quote, "It felt great. I didn't have any problems. I was feeling good out there. It's do or die, win or go home. Usually we start off winning games, but right now we're behind. We've all got to step it up." Note Lamar Jackson back, and all of a sudden Derrick Henry can run the football, 6.3 yards per play. Again, +3 in turnovers. I talked about earlier. Red zone, Baltimore 3 of 3, Miami 0 of 3. Harbaugh, quote, "We had 2 games that we needed to win in 4 games. They were absolute must wins. For a guy to step up the way they did is commendable. And all that means is that now we're 2 games under 500. That's all it means. We were 4 games under 500. So improvement in that regard. There is still urgency for Baltimore. They will have extra time to prepare against Minnesota. And again, the Vikings win yesterday, punctuated by their run defense and Detroit screwing up a bunch. That being said, Baltimore, there's not, for as poorly as their season started, it's not like the Ravens have been value laden at any point during this stretch. Although, if you've been backing them the last couple of weeks, you've been making some money.
2 teams, if you've been backing, that have been making you some money this season, maybe not last week, but definitely throughout the course of the season, the New England Patriots now on the road at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, look headline here. Tampa -2.5, 47.5. My powering number, Tampa -2. The market's open, 2.5, 48. And we're seeing some 48.5s out there right now. So we're seeing a little bit of movement to the Bucks and a little bit, not much. I'm seeing 2.5s with a little bit of juice and 2.5 and a little bit of movement to the over. Tampa off a win versus the Saints in a bye week. We're going to have to see what their injury report looks like. Their injury report was ugly before the bye. The Patriots, they've been running good and they continue to run good. They won on a missed extra point yesterday. That's when you know you're running good. Drake May, quote, "Doesn't matter if it's 24-23 or 3-2. You can feel in that locker room that guys know we can play better." Mike Vrabel, "We're going to learn from winnings that we don't have to learn from losing." New England's winning streak now, perhaps a little bit longer than it should be. That being said, they're the only team in the league not to allow 50 yards rushing to any running backs through 9 games. And obviously Tampa, a team that wants to run the football, even though Bucky Erie's been hurt all season.
All right, odds logic. Next up, we've got The New York Giants taking on the Chicago Bears. That was a crazy one yesterday, Teddy. If you had the Bears, I had the Bengals in a teaser, and I thought, this is so bad. What was I thinking? It was just kind of one of those crazy back and forth games, and I had crappy Wi-Fi in the mountains, and I could not, for the life of me, get just like enough to care. I was just like, all right, phone away. We're going to see what happens. John Hoagland, our producer, said, how upset he was that they were going to lose this football game. And next thing you know, they figured out a way. Caleb Williams, talk about him and whether you think that he's going to help get this Bears team over 8.5 wins.
Yeah, so the Bears were up 14, and not once, but twice they intercepted Joe Flacco, and both times it was the long return that was called back, and then the other time was a 100-yard return that was called back. And then all of a sudden, the defense fell apart at the end. And note Zach Taylor going for 2 on the first touchdown to make the lead only 6, which gave them the lead when the onside kick, and everyone's like they recovered the onside kick. That was all Chicago botching the onside kick. All right, when the guy was blocking and the kick hit him in the leg, it hadn't even gone 10 yards yet. All he has to do is get out of the way. The ball goes out of bounds, and the Bears take a knee, and the ball game's over. Instead, you had absolute insanity over the last 2 minutes of that contest. Look ahead line here: Chicago minus 3.5. My powering number: Chicago minus 4.5. The market's open 3.5, 48.5. By the way, total look at the total was 47. Market's open 3.5, 48.5, and we're seeing a mix between 48s and 48.5s right now. Weather could very much influence this. While in years past, even last year, maybe even this year, Chicago loses that game. All right, but they actually found a way on the final drive. It helped playing Cincinnati in that contest. But the final drive, Caleb Williams made plays, and obviously the Loveland with the really impressive catch and run to get the touchdown. They only need a field goal, and a field goal would have been just fine. Safety Kevin Byard, quote, "It's taken years off my life. It's super special. This is the greatest game, greatest sport in the world. Just the emotions up and down for the fans. They definitely got their money's worth." Worth noting, the Bears outrushed Cincinnati 283-46. But the defense allowed 449 passing yards on 9 yards per pass attempt to a 41-year-old quarterback who hadn't even been with the team for a month. Surely concerns there. They added T.J. Gardner-Johnson to the secondary. Didn't seem to help a whole lot for the Bears. That being said, the Giants have now lost 3 in a row. They've given up at least 33 points in all those ball games. Jackson Dart was the leading rusher yesterday. The defense allowed 9.8 yards per pass attempt from Mac Jones, only forced 5 incompletes all day. Brian Dable, quote, "Look, we're not where we need to be. We've got to continue to improve here. There's some things I think that are improving, but there's some things that are not. We're not going to see a swell of market support for the G-men this week. I'm not anticipating that."
All right, shout out to almost 2,200 of you guys watching live here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel and social media. You guys would take us a second, give us that thumbs up, hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe so you never miss another episode of the Opening Line Report here on Monday mornings with myself and Teddy Covers. Teddy, the Arizona Cardinals play the Dallas Cowboys tonight. Seattle off a nice, almost just easy Sunday night football when the Washington Commanders could not get anything going. Unfortunately, Jaden Daniels out with a pretty serious injury, but Seattle seemed to comfortably control that game. The first half, it was basically all but over.
Yeah, I had a nice free play videos for supporting the Seahawks in that game. For the clients, of course, that was on the lean list. I did not pull the trigger. And it was easy. It was a blowout from the opening kickoff. Look ahead line for this game: Seattle minus 6, 44.5. My powering number: Seahawks 7.5. The market's opened 7 and 46.5 this morning, and there are even books that haven't opened yet. I am seeing 44.5 and 45.5 out there. I'm not yet sure which way this total is going to move. The Cardinals are playing on Monday Night Football tonight off their bye. Kyler Murray still not healthy. The market's likely to adjust based on his status and or how they look this evening, Jacoby Brissett and company. But as for Seattle, I mean, yards per play, Seahawks 8.7 yards per play, Washington 4.7 yards per play. There have been 4 quarterbacks since 1991 to throw 4 touchdowns before an incomplete pass. Sam Darnold was one of them yesterday. along with Lamar Jackson, Ryan Tannehill, and Tom Brady. 4 touchdowns thrown before a single incomplete. He averaged 13.8 yards per pass attempt yesterday. Mike McDonald, quote, believe me when I say it, I'm not surprised. We watch Sam every day and how he operates. He's the same guy every day, which is what you love about him. We're chasing it. The guys are determined. It's fun to watch. Seattle is a team with some upside right now, although the national TV blowout last night has probably corrected their power rating number moving forward. Certainly the Seahawks, their offensive line's 1,000 times better than I thought it was going to be this year. 2,000 times better. I thought it was the same unit as last year and the year before and the year before that. That OL has been a difference maker for Darnold and this offense. And right now they are clicking on all cylinders.
All right. It looks like, according to NFL.com, Jaden Daniels dislocated his elbow. As you can tell, I was running my fingers through my hair, looking at the odds logic screen. And now I'm going to assume, Teddy, that he's not going to be a go in this game. I've never dislocated my elbow, but it is his non-throwing arm. So something worth noting there. The Detroit Lions, as we mentioned earlier, off a loss to divisional rival Vikings.
Yeah, check things out. Look ahead line, Lions 3.5, 51.5. My powering number, knowing Daniels was out, 6.5 last night. The markets this morning, 9s. There are some 8.5s out there, but there's a lot of 9s out there for Detroit. So look at line 3. Market number now 9. And it's not like we haven't seen Mariota play already this year and play okay and guide the team to victories. We have. Big adjustment. 51.5 to look at total. Right now I'm seeing 49.5 out there. That being said, I talked about the Seattle outgaining Washington 8.7 yards per play to 4.7. Complete domination. Dan Quinn, just an unacceptable performance by us tonight. We missed it by a mile. But you read the quotes coming out of Washington's locker room after the Jaden Daniels injury, and you ask yourself, why is he in the game at that stretch where they're down by 5 scores with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter? Dan Quinn said, I didn't even consider taking Daniels out of the game. But remember, Washington brought in a bunch of free agents. They're the oldest team in the league. Everything was win now for Jaden Daniels this year. And I think they're, 3-6 right now? The markets are crashing on Washington as we speak. As for Detroit, obviously didn't play. And for Detroit, it was just a sloppy game. They didn't run the football very well. They allowed 142 yards on the ground. The defense only gave up 4.4 yards per play. They gained 4.9, but they went 1 of 3 in the red zone and 10 penalties. Dan Campbell, we did everything we needed to do to lose that game. We made every critical error at the right time to lose. When you play poorly in all 3 phases of the game, that's on the head coach. I didn't have this team ready to play out of the bye week. So you have Campbell all fired up. Detroit off a loss since 2022, 12-0 straight up. I think they might be 12-0 against the spread, 11-1. They've been real good off a loss. The market's showing some respect for that. The market's crashing on Washington this morning.
Yeah, Detroit off a loss has been a great bet over the last couple of seasons. Let's go to the NFC West here, Teddy. Do you think the Los Angeles Rams can avenge that survivor loss from me on Thursday Night Football a few weeks back? They're headed to the Niners.
So look at line here, Rams -3/-3.5. They were both out there, 49.5 the total. My powering number is only 2.5 for the Rams in this ballgame. The market's open 3/3.5 and 49.5 last night. And they've taken out the 3s. It's all 3.5 for the Rams against the 49ers in revenge for an earlier loss this season, although LA has had a whole lot of losses against San Francisco in recent years. Total 49.5 juice to the over, 50 juice to the under, which is pretty close to being the same thing. Matthew Stafford was brilliant yesterday. Puka Nacua came back, and all of a sudden, again, they're playing a lesser foe in New Orleans, but 8.8 yards per pass attempt, 30-10 first down edge, more than 43 minutes of possession. There was a lot of talk in the LA locker room about the Dodgers winning the World Series. As a team, instead of the team meetings on Saturday night, they hung out and watched the Dodger game and had very short meetings. Stafford, quote, we were in the room and everyone was watching when Rojas hit the dinger, man. We were all going crazy. That was the shortest team meeting before the game. Jared Verse, watching the Dodgers be able to dominate like that, get that win the World Series back to LA, gets us hyped up. And now we know we've got to be next. So the Rams putting the cart before the horse a little bit. As for the 49ers, no Brock Purdy, no problem. 5 straight games without Purdy. Mac Jones, only 5 incompletes, only sacked twice. Christian McCaffrey, 28 carries, 100 yards, leading receiver as well. Brian Robinson ran the football. The offensive line played well. Shanahan, it was a huge team deal getting those run calls. Luckily, the team were able to stick with it. I don't know if they'll have the same success running the football against LA as they did against the Giants. It's a easier foe that they just faced than the one they're going to face. That being said, 49ers still, at 6-3, not a team that's getting a whole lot of betting market respect as we consider plus 3.5 for this one.
Okay, Teddy. Pittsburgh is headed to the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm going to be frank. I can't figure out either one of these teams. Like every single time I think I've got it. Nope. Sure can't.
Look at line Chargers 4.5, 46.5. My powering number, Chargers 3.5. I talked about earlier how I had the Broncos. I think I have my half point better than the Chargers. But my power rating came 3.5. The markets only came 3. So maybe it's the Steelers, the team that the markets are starting to love right now. 3 and 45.5 last night. Now we're seeing 3s and 45s. There are 44.5s out there as well, kind of a split total for that one. And again, Pittsburgh was outgained 368 to 225 in their win and cover yesterday. They had 23 carries for 38 rushing yards. Aaron Rodgers had 0 completions of 20-plus yards, nothing but dink and dunk. And that works when the other team turns the ball over 6 times. Watt after the game. If Watt had a huge sack fumble that game, one of the most important things was just pinning our ears back and playing physical football. I talked about the Cam Hayward quote last week when he said the team didn't show any fight. Quote, Hayward. I thought there was fight from the entire group. It's just collectively, we all have to be responsible. We've got to play with a lot of energy. I love the energy we showed today. Cluster injuries in the secondary. They got Kyle Duggar in a trade with New England, and he started and finished with 4 tackles in that contest. But definitely something to pay attention to when it comes to the injuries for Pittsburgh in their secondary. As for the Chargers, no cover yesterday, but look, they held Tennessee to 206 total yards, 10 first downs. They had a game-changing goal line stand from the 1-yard line in the third quarter. It was a really strong offensive showing, but a defensive showing, I'd say. On the offensive line, we have to be concerned. Bobby hurt a groin in his first quarter. Alt re-injured his right ankle and got carted off the field. Neither guy came back in the ballgame. Herbert threw a pick 6 in yesterday's contest. That being said, he came into the game leading the NFL in passing yards, finished with a pass rating over 100, and it led the Chargers in rushing as well. Herbert's quote, it happened early. I thought we did a good job weathering the storm. A different game for us, a lot of uncharacteristic things, but there's going to be good learning from it as long as guys hang in there. There's time and downs. I think we got a shot. Harbaugh after the game. There's no other ways I think he can impress, Then every time I think that, he finds a way to, it's like another rung on the ladder of esteem. Yeah, he's that guy. He's that competitor. Herbert has been brilliant. The betting market saying Pittsburgh is live.
Okay, Pittsburgh might be live on Sunday Night Football. Teddy, before we get into Monday Night Football and get out of here before Wager Talk last call with Andy Lang, anything you want to give to our audience worth of note, anything to promote? I know you said NBA season has been rocking and rolling. I know we started off with a little like beating ourselves up, but we got to take those wins where we can get it.
Yeah, of course, Wager Talk today. Wager Talk last call is tonight, which you can watch before Monday Night Football. Today. Wager Talk today coming up at noon each and every weekday at 10 a.m. Live, 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern. And Wager Talk last call, which is also a great show. Thursday, Saturday morning, Sunday mornings, Monday nights, before all the big games. Check out Wager Talk last call as well. Yeah, I got a single best bet in the NBA. The NBA has been good. All right, the NFL, and I'm going to be. Kelly, it's one, people rely on me. The company relies on me not to be the shittiest NFL handicapper out there. And when I suck, I feel it. And my clients expect me to feel it, And it's one thing to suck for a week or two. Another thing to suck for a month, So it is what it is. I know I'm not going to be awful forever. I'm confident that I'm not going to be the worst NFL handicapper in the history of NFL handicappers. But right now, I'm in the suck. And until I get out of it, I'm going to beat myself up. It's how I work. And my clients would like to, my clients don't mind me doing that. I'm sure of that. So it is what it is in that regard. We'll get there. I haven't lost my mojo. I haven't lost my confidence, but I'm a little bit frustrated right now, and I'm supposed to be. I'm sure my clients are.
All right. Monday Night Football. This is why I took the Panthers last week. Marco said on Bet On It that this was a great sandwich spot. I was pissed at the Panthers the week before. And I thought, you know what? I'm going back to the well with this crappy team. Did I think they were going to win outright? No, I did not. But you mentioned how Green Bay likes to play with their food. You did say Titans, so I'm going to correct you. You meant the Bengals. They also lost on the road at the Browns. Those like subpar teams. Maybe they were looking ahead here to this really solid Eagles team. This Eagles team has been an interesting one. They are off a bye here, headed into Green Bay, which historically is a really tough place to play, especially in primetime.
Yeah. No, I mean, the Packers' home field isn't worth any more than any other team, and not in the regular season, not even in the playoffs. I remember when Michael Vick and the Falcons are playing indoors. They can't win up in Green Bay, and they went up and slaughtered them. I mean, don't overrate any home field in this league. Look headline here, Green Bay -3, total of 45. My powering number is a pick 'em for this contest. The market's open, the Packers 2.5 and 44.5. And I'm not sure why we're seeing what I would call lack of respect for Philadelphia. Maybe it's they righted the ship before the bye, and it's kind of we'll see something from them like we saw from Detroit yesterday, which is not their best effort coming out of it. Certainly, Green Bay they outgained Carolina by a full yard per play. They got Rico Dowdle, and they couldn't get off the field on defense in that sense. But the bigger issue is when they went 1 of 5 in the red zone, and they kind of they played with their food. 5 of their first 6 possessions, they were inside the Panthers' 35-yard line, and they had a grand total of 2 field goals to show for it. Jordan Love, it's very frustrating. I think everyone's feeling that as an offense. First half, we were limited in possessions. These games, you have to maximize every time you're on the field. We didn't do that. And, of course, Green Bay came into the game with only 3 turnovers on offense all season. They had 2 more yesterday, and they certainly cost them. Fun Monday night game. From a bounce-back standpoint, we would expect a bounce back from Green Bay, but then again, that's very much priced into this number, sitting at 2.5. Now, I would not be surprised if we see some over money here, but again, that's certainly weather forecast related. Now we're in November. Be sure to check those weather forecasts early in the week before you're betting on these totals.
All right, this has been Wager Talks opening line report. Kelly and Teddy, every single Monday, we are here breaking down that NFL slate, giving you guys pertinent information, emergency betting alerts. Teddy, thank you so much for all of your time and energy. I am ready to run through a brick wall for NFL Week 10. I know you are ready to do the same. Guys, hang around here. Next up, Wager Talk today, hosted by Andy Lang. And the reason why I screwed it up earlier is because Andy Lang is also going to be on Wager Talk's last call tonight. So you guys are getting a double dose of Andy Lang headed into Monday Night Football. They're also going to hit on some hockey as well as some NBA and college basketball. Hope you guys have a wonderful, profitable betting week. We'll see you next Monday.